So, hi everyone. Hi everyone. Welcome to everybody who is with us today. I am here today with Mike. Mike is a social media marketing consultant. Hi, Mike.
Hey, nice to meet you, and hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be.
Yeah. So in this live today, we're going to show you how to create engaging content on Instagram. But before jumping into the subject, let me say some words about my guest. Mike Blake Crawford is a social media, as I said, is a social media marketing consultant with over 12 years of experience working across integrated campaigns at both agencies and brands. I'm sure that those who saw our event or got an invitation through the email, Estelle couldn't make it for today. She said she's sorry for this, but he couldn't make it to be with us today. But I'm sure that together with Mike, we'll cover everything about Instagram content strategies. So I can't wait to share all things Instagram today. Mike, what's happening with Instagram these days? Because there was a lot of discussions, a lot of
Yeah,
changes.
yeah,
Social media managers, I think, they're a little bit confused with what happens with this platform.
yeah,
Uh, so to be more specifically, everyone, I hope that everyone knows that videos under 50 minutes are transformed into reels.
yeah.
And yeah, people want to see more posts from their followers.
Mm.
Um,
But Instagram has its own objectives, right? So, I mean, what we're seeing right now is actually the culmination of something that I've been talking about for about 3 or 4 years now. I actually have been predicting for a long time that what social media would eventually become would essentially be what the TikTok For You page is. And there's a number of different reasons for that, but one of the primary drivers is essentially the commercial objectives of the platforms themselves. They need to scale ad inventory and they need to increase attention. And what you get with something like Reels, which is obviously born out of the format that TikTok has championed, is a format that essentially increases the attention that the platforms are receiving, but also provides really strong opportunities to scale ad inventory and critically. And I'm not sure if this is something that the platforms are colluding on, but if you want to scale ad inventory and make it appealing to companies and make it easier for companies to advertise, you ideally want a single format. So, the TV ad was a single format that could work on whatever channel it was. It could work in the cinema, it could work on big screens outdoors, and it made it very easy for advertisers to create content, which could then scale in different places. And if you look back at where social media was even 5 or 6 years ago, if you were an advertiser, you'd have to create a Facebook specific campaign with Facebook specific dimensions and formats. You'd then have to create an Instagram format, and you'd then have to create another type of content for Twitter. And it was very difficult to scale budgets effectively. But where we're at now, we're in a place where it's very easy to create 9:16 vertical videos
yeah.
that fit within stories. There was a moment about 8 months ago where every single social media platform had stories, including LinkedIn, but they pulled it
Yeah.
in the end. But Reels on TikTok and Facebook is that evolution towards a singular format that benefits advertisers, but also benefits users, but keeps the attention of users. So yeah, it's an interesting place, and I think social media managers are obviously frustrated. Organic reach, impressions, engagement is declining if you are not utilizing
Yeah.
Instagram Reels at the moment. But listen, like it's the name of the game.
Yeah.
Evolution and change is the only constant in social media and in life. And I think a lot of people are complaining now, but in time they'll be reaping the benefits if they adapt to this new way of communicating.
Yeah. So we did some researches in our database at Social Insider, and we noticed that under 10% of the content on Instagram is represented by Reels. So my guess here is that brands aren't ready to create this type of content, so they are still they want to create high production videos.
Mm,
So they aren't so they are aren't so um, how to say it in a
they're
words
scared.
acceptable.
They're
Yeah, they
scared and
aren't.
apprehensive of a new format which they don't
Yeah,
understand. And
yeah, yeah.
my
They are.
experience. Sorry.
Yeah, they are ready to create reels,
Mm,
let's say 2 per weeks for the and give all the credits to the social media manager to record reels with their phones, because um, most of the reels that are that goes viral uh, have a low production.
yeah.
So I think that brands aren't ready to use this format yet. I don't know, depending what happens with their numbers.
And a lot of that will come from existing agency relationships where
Yeah.
some of the biggest brands, for example, are working with big creative agencies who are set up to create very highly polished, emotive, beautiful pieces of content, which isn't fitting with what the currency of social media now is. And what I've seen over the last kind of 18 months is this complete flip where we had actually got to a point where social content was becoming a lot more polished and a lot more expensive to produce to get really
Hmm.
strong pieces of creative. However, we've had that flip, and it's been interesting to see that people with decades of experience in marketing now are really struggling to really maximize their effectiveness on these social platforms because of this shift in content style, and it's the culmination of a number of things. We're now dealing with a generation, and I call them the four screens, 4K, 4G.
Yeah.
So they grew up with computer or console, TV,
Yeah.
laptop or tablet, and smartphone. Right? They have four
Smartphone.
screens, media
Yeah.
saturated.
Yeah.
They now have smartphones which have like 4K cameras on and amazing processors and can edit music and video and images like very quickly. You could not do this 10 years ago. Even 5 years ago, it was quite difficult to do this on a smartphone. And then you've also got the mobile networks that support the bandwidth to be able to upload this at high
Yeah.
frequency. And it's all come together. And I've been talking a lot recently with clients and at events about this shift, this paradigm shift where if you look at what social platforms used to be, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, initially they were tools of connection. So Facebook was like, connect with friends. Twitter was like
Yeah.
connect with the world. And you went on and you added friends and followed people and followed photographers and influencers on Instagram. But now you go onto Snapchat, you go onto TikTok, you go onto Instagram, and what you're faced with on the home screen effectively is a camera, is a creation tool. So we're moving away from connection into this realm of creation, content creation, and everybody is a creator now.
Yeah.
And that's where the power is on social. And brands really need to learn to either adapt themselves to become creators or find the creators that can then champion the voice of the brand for them across social media.
Yeah. So if we have to put together some ideas about how to
Yeah,
create content, engaging content on Instagram, so we have Reels. Everyone knows that Reels returns huge numbers in terms of reach, in terms of engagement.
yeah,
But also, I think it's important to mention that Instagram it should be everyone should have a consistent strategy on Instagram.
yeah,
So it shouldn't focus only on reels. They should
yes, yes,
single images delivers great results.
yeah,
Carousels have a great um, engagement rate and delivers a great
Yeah.
image, great engagement rate across multiple industries. Um, People should also look at stories. So
Yeah.
they shouldn't
Yeah.
forget to create content for stories, because with story you have a lot of stickers, you have the option to insert polls. So there are still stories, for example, are still a great way to get insights from your audience.
Yeah.
um, what else? Live, I think it's
So
important to mention.
yeah, with things like this, I'm somebody that will always recommend the kind of bigger picture recommendations. So I think the first thing for any brands or social media managers that are listening is to not fixate on chasing metrics. So I think a lot of time, and I used to be victim to this as a social media manager, was you're constantly chasing that number of engagement rate, and that can be a zero sum game in many respects, because there are always tactics and tweaks that you can undertake to gain additional engagement. And right now it's reels, right? They're being over promoted in the feed, but it was only a year or so back, it was IGTV was getting over promoted in terms of impressions and views, and then it was in feed video, and carousels and stories have all had their kind of time in the sun. I think constantly chasing those tactical gains is great in the short term, but critically, as we've talked about, the algorithm is always changing. And if you've got all of your eggs in one basket, you're eventually
Yeah.
going to have to end up pivoting entirely. And typically, that comes at the expense of constructing a cohesive brand story, which over the long term is more likely to
Yeah.
support building a strong community and deliver that commercial success. So my recommendation is always to focus on the fundamentals. So the first being the fundamentals of human behavior, right? So people are typically lazy and emotional. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. Our laziness drives innovation because we want things faster and easier. And the internet is like, the epitome
Yeah.
of that. It's the most impactful innovation. But having access to like instantaneous information, like anytime, anywhere, and the evolution of that through social media, it's transformed our expectations. So we want to know like all the insight from a 500-page book in a 5-minute video. We want to see a 3-course meal cooked as a recipe in 60 seconds. We want to know, all the best bars in Barcelona in under 30. And emotion underpins our relationship with stories and content. We're drawn to content which essentially provides us with an escape from the baseline. Yeah, it makes us laugh. It could make us sad, or it astonishes us, or it even makes us angry, right?
Yeah.
Negative content it also has a resonance on across social. So an Instagram content strategy that delivers facts and information with emotional storytelling will always succeed regardless of the format. And I've been looking recently a lot of Instagram publishers that have been doing well. One of which is Puberty, who started after big established publishers like Lad Bible and Unilad. They've actually surpassed them like multiple times. I think they got about 31 million followers. And if you look at their feed, they essentially combine humorous memes and reels and awesome like videos with news and facts and information and these kind of emotionally charged talking points. And it's really, really interesting to see. And then secondly, I'd say the fundamentals of the platform, and you've touched upon this by talking about Instagram stories being really important still, the feed still being really important. You've got to think about those commercial objectives, and Instagram is always trying to increase attention and add inventory. And the most important thing to remember is that even though reels are being rewarded and over promoted at the moment, I've done some analysis recently, and actually there's more to it. And Instagram actually appears to be rewarding brands that are utilizing the full suite of platform capabilities, but critically doing that consistently. So I was looking at one of my clients' reporting, and we saw that within weeks where there was a strong mix of reels, carousel posts, stories, maybe a live, there was an incremental increase in the organic reach of the on-feed content versus a week where it was maybe only carousels and maybe the odd story. So a regular cadence across all formats
Yeah.
that combines information with emotion would be my core recommendation.
Yeah, yeah. Totally agree with you here because y- brands, businesses should create a consistent strategy, and as you said, not focusing only one type of content that's in this moment delivers huge engagement rates. So I have some numbers here. We did a study about the Reels performance. So the engagement rate for Reels is 1.8, while for the carousel is 1.2, and for the single image is 0.9.
Yeah.
So I said earlier that brands are still not comfortable to insert reels into their strategy. You work it with brands. In the green room, you mentioned some of the big brands that you work with. So,
Yeah.
how can social media managers convince brands to adopt this content type?
Yeah, I think. Well, listen. I think at the end of the day, when you're trying to convince your brands and your marketing directors to adopt this type of content, the data doesn't lie, and the data that you've shown from the Social Insider platform has highlighted the increased engagement and the increased reach that you're going to deliver through this type of content. So I think as a starting point, that would be the key point to use as your convincer to get them to do that. In terms of helping brands understand how to use reels, I think just a test and learn approach. I think you can certainly overthink how to approach reels. I think, just going out there and trying new things and I guess learning, from the trends that are popular at the moment. So, one thing I've been doing with clients is taking them through the explore page, showing them some of the most viral formats that are working at the moment, the most viral, like, trending sounds. And I guess another thing as well, which is often overlooked, is that you don't necessarily need to start with creation. You could also start with curation. So, if you as a brand find a reel within the community that a customer has created or a fan has created, sometimes look at leveraging that for your own content and outreach and acquire the permission to use it. And maybe as a test, you can try that just to show the results first and then gain the confidence to go out and do that yourself.
And I think that study the competitors. Maybe if the profiles that you are looking at, maybe your direct competitors or maybe indirect competitors already started using this strategy, maybe you can analyze their numbers and show those numbers to your clients
Yeah,
you
definitely.
work with. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
100%.
there is a barrier for
Yeah,
everyone, of course, but um, it's important for brands to understand that there is a mix.
yeah.
It's not only reels, but it's also but it shouldn't be ignored. So
No, no, definitely not. And in terms of recommendations for reels, I always kind of look into, why are they so popular? Or why is this format and this feed that TikTok have championed, why is it so popular? And actually, it comes down to years of development on the algorithm. Why are they so addictive? It's because you're essentially playing social media roulette when you're using reels, because you just don't know what's coming next. You kind of got this constantly scrolling feed of
yeah,
videos, and you don't know how it's going to make you feel and what that dopamine hit will be next. Will it be something funny? Will it be something sad? Will it be something amazing? And I think you can take that theory of the dopamine element and why reels as a platform is so consuming, and apply that to your own videos in the way that you structure it. So for me, the ideal reel will have three key phases, and it actually follows that theory of, I say, gambling, and it starts with making sure you have an element of intrigue or a hook. And I think, you know, the first 2 seconds of your video are so important. You have got to use text or a title. You know, I've tested it with multiple clients, and you're averaging up to 30% more views when you use an intriguing title in the first 2 to 3 seconds versus without. I think the next thing is ensuring you have that element of suspense. So you think about formats which are really popular. It's like listicles, yeah. It's like 5 things to do in London, you know, 5 places to travel to, 5 amazing recipes, etc. It works really well because what you're doing is essentially generating suspense. You're revealing crumbs of information periodically over the course of the video, over the course of the reels. So that's a really important element of having that middle bit and just releasing information in bits.
Yeah.
And then finally, you have to have the payoff. And, you know, it could be something funny. It could just be a reveal of, you know, the most important information in a list. So, you know, if you've got a big product suite that you're trying to advertise, you could talk about, you know, the 5 most popular products last month, starting with number 5. And then at the end, and number 1, it's this skirt or it's this t-shirt that's done really well. Or, you know, sometimes, and a lot of influencers and publishers will do this, they'll just have like a consistent sign off that people start to wait for, and like just wait for that sign off to know that the video is finished. And yeah, I think that structure typically is generating the most amount of virality through capturing attention.
Yeah. So I think it's important to demystify, or maybe do some reverse engineering at top reels and understand why they are getting so much video views. Actually, there are some reels views, video views. If we have to say some content trends that social media managers should know, what would that be?
I mean, there's a few. The ones I talk about typically are bigger than just Instagram. I think if we're looking at kind of Instagram and Reels in particular, and this is something that's been in progress for a number of years now, we're really seeing this shift towards advocates and creators as the stars. So, you know, I've talked a lot about the power of emotional storytelling in content, and I've kind of identified a framework which is all about, you know, setting a brand vision and a purpose, but essentially connecting that with your audience and elevating that audience to then tell that story for you. So if you look at some of the biggest social brands today, you know, the brands like Glossier and Gymshark and the Chipotles of the world, you know, what they do really well is that they let their customers be the front of the content, right? So that is a really, really big one, and making sure that you're leveraging real people in all of your content, and especially within Reels. That's another thing that I've seen a lot when benchmarking engagement and virality. Featuring people within the content is really, really important. But, you know, where we're going to get to on a kind of a macro scale, we're getting to the point now where the platforms are actually paying the creators to create content. They're monetizing it. And I think we're very, very close to creators becoming platform exclusive and for creators moving platforms. So, you know, someone like KB Lane, for example, suddenly becomes, I'm not going to say like he's going to be on Facebook, but like Facebook exclusive, right? Or YouTube Shorts exclusive. That's a reality. So that's a really big trend that I'm seeing at the moment and trying to optimize brands towards. Another one, which I've recently been talking about on LinkedIn, is community social. So with all of the platforms becoming very similar and becoming this kind of Instagram Reels, TikTok-esque video content platforms, the interaction between users, you know, that's not gone away. It's just gone into different spaces. And what we're starting to see are platforms like Discord, platforms like Reddit, Twitter's having a resurgence within certain subgroups and niches, and even the comment sections within Instagram and TikTok have become ever more important. So I think it's really important that brands start to explore those platforms and explore interaction with the community, because that's only going to become bigger and bigger, and where the value will be in the future.
Yeah. So always community wins. So I'm always I have the same recommendation to for people. So I already have this recommendation for our clients to the algorithms change. The algorithm is changing all the time. So Instagram, Facebook are doing a lot of changes, but a strong community, it's only yours. The tools that you mentioned, it whether it's Slack, Discord, or maybe a community on Reddit, or if you have their emails, is the most are these are more important than uh, how many followers you have, let's say, on Instagram or other social platform.
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of big brands that talk about their social communities, and they
Yeah,
may have, thousands of followers, millions of followers, but actually, when you start to look at the comments sections of
yeah,
their posts, they don't react,
yeah,
they don't respond, and they have, questions about products and the brand that they are effectively just leaving off the table, and that's an opportunity to really grow advocacy and favorability with a brand that many brands are just not focusing on. So yeah, that community management, community engagement, but also the exploration of private spaces and taking audiences into things like WhatsApp groups and Discord, as I say, is definitely something worth exploring.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So thank you so much, Mike, for sharing all these insights with us today. Where people can find you? Where are you the most active?
Yeah, the best place to find me is on LinkedIn, Mike Blake Crawford. So I go through different phases of how frequently I share content on there, but I tend to write long form pieces, commenting on social media trends, audience behavior, brand campaigns that I'm a fan of. So that's the best place for now. And yeah, exploring the potential of a newsletter in time, but let's see where we get to with that one.
So yeah, everyone who want to get connected with Mike, go on LinkedIn, Mike Blake Crawford, and get connected with him. Thank you so much for being with us today, and thank you for watching this Teach Me session. And see you in 2 weeks. Bye.